Hi, I'm Grace. I'm an employment and workplace relations lawyer here at Law Squared, and today we're going to talk about employment law change. The first piece of legislation that we've been looking closely at is the Secure Jobs Better Pay Act, which came into effect on the 7th of December 2022, and that covers, the gamut of employment law. So we had things, changes and amendments to the Fair Work Act in relation to enterprise bargaining and multi-employer bargaining. We had changes in relation to fixed-term arrangements and agreements. We also had changes to pay secrecy clauses, which are now illegal, but also changes to things like flexible working arrangements under Section 65 as well. The second piece of legislation that we're looking really closely at is the Respect at Work Act, which has now come into effect. The Respect at Work Act, that was developed with the help of the Australian Human Rights Commission and off the back of the Respect at Work report done by Kate Jenkins, the Sex Discrimination Commissioner, into the prevalence of sexual harassment and sex-based harassment in the workplace. Sadly, that report found that 1 in 3 employees had experienced sexual harassment in the last 5 years, and actually with those scary stats, they did develop a set of 55 recommendations, a range of which the previous Liberal federal government did bring in, including things like the Stop Sexual Harassment Order. And the federal Labor government has now implemented the remainder of those 55 recommendations, including a positive duty on employers to now eliminate unlawful sex discrimination and sex-based harassment in the workplace as far as possible. So out of the Secure Jobs Better Pay Act, a lot of the changes are coming in tranches. We saw some in 2022 and there's a range coming in different months this year, so keep tuned for that. But other than that, there's been consistent changes that come in at 1 July every year that you really need to keep abreast of. So the first one is obviously the super contributions. They're going to be going up all the way up to 2025, so be careful of that and make sure that you're affecting that with your employees. Secondly, you've also got the annual wage review, which the Fair Work Commission does, and that changes the national minimum wage and the wages in awards every 1 July, so keep abreast of that. And then finally as well, you've got the increase to the high income threshold for unfair dismissal claims in the Fair Work Commission. So several of the changes in those two pieces of legislation we spoke about have already come into effect, but there's still more to come. So I really think it's important that employers take not only a retrospective approach, but also a prospective approach in how they deal with these. So for example, you might look at things like, do you have pay secrecy clauses in your contracts at the moment, or any templates that you're using? Has your EBA expired and how long ago did it expire? And things like looking at your policies and procedures, specifically things like your sexual harassment or anti-discrimination policies, to make sure they're in line with the Respect at Work amendments. I think also reviewing your documents more generally is really important, and I think we can definitely assist with those types of things, but also carrying out training and having that consistent monitoring as well of your systems and processes to make sure that they're all up to scratch.